In golf, we're looking for that next secret to take us to the next level. But there's no substitute for practice, as we all know. But we never really get told what exactly to practice. I'm going to give you your next 5 practice moves to really take you to the next level, guaranteed. The first thing you want to do is understand your dispersion. This is going to help you more than anything else to lower your scores. You want to know how far to the left and how far to the right you need to be aiming. I'm going to simplify it down for you real quick. On your tee shots, you need to start paying attention to how far from your intended target you actually finished. If you're aiming down the center of the fairway and keep finishing in the right rough or keep finishing in the left rough, you have an aiming problem because you don't quite understand where your dispersion is. So I'm going to show you right now how to kind of get that without getting too technical. So on this shot, I'm going to hit a mini driver to the tree on the left of the green, way in the distance, and let's see how far from there we actually finish to know what our dispersion is. So that was a little fader, almost directly on the line. So my dispersion on that shot was very little. What you can do when you see the dispersion away from your target, you want to see where that ball landed, and you want to measure with a finger from where you hit the shot. How many fingers away from your target was that ball? You're going to start to see a pattern develop. Maybe 1 finger, 2 fingers, 3 fingers. You just hold it out straight like this, and you line up the edge of your finger, whichever side of your target it finished. You line up your finger to the thing you were aiming at and see how many fingers it took to get to where your ball landed. On my shot there, I put my finger up, it's inside 1 finger. I keep doing this with the same club over and over, keep a note of it, and I start understanding, oh, this dispersion is 1 finger, 2 fingers, 3 fingers, to the right, to the left. Now I can use that number that it comes up the most, and I start to aim with my 2 or 3 or 4 fingers so that I can plan for the shot shape to land the ball where I want it to go. There's a more automatic way of doing this. You can use a new favorite app of mine called Shot Pattern app. You insert your shots while you play, you put the target you were aiming at, and then you put the location of your actual shot. The app is then going to save your dispersion on every single club, so you can actually plan for it when you click a certain button to show your dispersion. Absolutely brilliant. That's going to help you to understand how far from your target you're finishing, so you can adjust your aim and your targeting to make better shots. This is the key practice. You want to be conscious, practicing things that are really happening so you can plan better. We're not just hitting balls randomly. To get this 100% correct, you want a flat lie and no wind. So a TrackMan Studio often is the best. And then you can start to see the distance you're hitting and how much you're missing left and right, which is your preferred side and shot shape. So you can start planning your shot pattern better and your targets. So I'm going to hit 3 shots here from 150 yards, and I'm going to measure with my fingers how far from the pin I finished. I'm just using the pin because it's the easiest to aim to, and it's about 150 yards, which is this club I'm hitting. From there, I'll be able to tell you how many fingers I'm missing by left and right. That one was exactly 2 fingers. Not my best strike. That's inside 1 finger. So we had 1 to 2 fingers to the right, probably because the ball's on a hanging lie. So we've got to take that into consideration. I'm going to just giving you a demonstration what you can do on a driving range, or even if you find a good TrackMan Studio. That one is within a finger of the pin on the left-hand side. So if I take my furthest left and my furthest right, it's exactly 2 fingers. So I can just aim 2 fingers left or right, put the pin in between my 2 fingers on the edge of the 2 fingers and aim for that from 150 yards. Then you want to do 100 yards, 125, 175, find your dispersion and then where you should aim. So my shot pattern distribution is very tight with a 150 yard shot because it's one of my favorite clubs. I've worked on that and I've worked on those clubs. To be able to do this, you need to know your 5 most common distances you're hitting the golf ball into the greens. If you have your 5 most common distances, you can now work on those to get that dispersion number and then work on tightening the dispersion, either with a coach or just hitting a lot of balls, figuring out the shot shape, noticing the trajectory, noticing the shot shape, and then aiming better for that using the fingers. You can even do it at a driving range. That finish left of the target, a finger, left of the target, 2 fingers, and then you can start to understand how many fingers you need to aim with on the golf course. Usually your dispersion is going to be a little bit wider than this, which is going to leave you chipping and putting a lot of the time. So when you chip, most of the chip shots around the green are between 10 and 30 yards. So you don't need to practice those ones inside 10 yards that much. What you want to do is practice the ones 10, 20, 30 yards away from the hole, from both rough and fairway lies. And when I practice, I like to practice interconnectivity. So we know that when we have our dispersion, we can aim properly, give ourselves easier chips, easier pitches, easier putts. When we practice those chips and putts, we do them better, get them to inside 6 feet, because now we have a goal inside 6 feet. The percentage you get inside 6 feet determines your scrambling rate. The number one thing is that you never hit a single ball in practice or in play without a clear purpose and routine. If you're just willy-nilly hitting golf balls and you're not thinking about your shot, you're not running through your full routine, you're basically wasting your time. It doesn't offer anything for when you hit the golf course. How many times you've been to the range, you whack a whole lot of buckets, you get to the golf course the next day or 2 days later, you don't remember anything, you feel worse off than when you went to the range. That process, we want to trigger with the move. Up to you, whatever move it is. Often for me, it's putting record on the camera and walking around the tripod. The routine is so important, and no one practices the routine. When you practice the routine at the range, you have a full purpose for every shot. Those mean something. You're taking it with you. Imagine it like in yoga. They imagine that you have a certain number of breaths before you die. If you waste those breaths by being stressed, you're going to breathe quicker, you're going to breathe shallower, you're going to die quicker from the stress. You're breathing in deep, you're taking long breaths, you're going to live longer because you only have, let's say, 100 million breaths. If you go through them quickly, you're deados. If you go through them slowly, wow. So what we want to do is go through each shot mindfully and use the fewest number of shots for the highest efficiency. I'm envisioning how the shot's going to look. I'm imagining the wind pushing it back toward the hole. And this is what's going to get me in the zone. Just standing here. It could be anything. Some people flick their trousers. Some people touch their pocket. Some people jingle something in their thing. Some people touch their hat. Whatever it is that gets you in the process. Practice that trigger move so that when you get to the course, you can trigger yourself into the process and get meditative. I find something on my target line. I line my club face up to that. Grip it real tasty. Now I'm all lined up. Look at my target and go. That's absolutely on target, within my dispersion. Bam. Let me just double check that. One finger exactly. I aimed it, 2 fingers, centered right on the pin. But now you need a post-shot routine, which is also very important. So even if you're on a driving range or chipping green, you have to practice your post-shot routine. Watch the ball, see the shot. If it's not good, put the other shot you were trying to hit, overlay it in your mind over that shot. So eventually, after all the time you practice and play, you see more good shots mentally than you see bad shots, because you're overlaying good shots on top of your bad shots. If you find you're missing a lot of your putts, there's 2 things we can work on. Number 1 is putting a camera down the line to make sure you're actually lined up where you think you're lining up. You can start by using the line on the golf ball to line your putter up and then line your body up to that. Often your eyes, brain and body don't match and you actually feel a bit confused. There's a very easy way to fix that by using the camera, because there's physical evidence, not just feel. When you see that you're not lined up correctly, maybe you're lining up left, maybe you're lining up right, you developed a push stroke, whatever it is that you've done, you can correct it by seeing the evidence. When you can get yourself lined up again, you can get the ball started on the correct line very reliably. But there's a very important part, and this is the second part of it, to getting the ball started on the correct line for your putt, because there's something very confusing that we do wrong. Let's say we find an apex of about here. If I hit a ball around there, is that going to be the correct line? Let's have a look at that first to make sure. Not a bad line, right? Not a bad line. So from this position of where the ball is, we go through the apex. Through the apex, this is the line that we've got through the apex. Now that went around the apex. So let's say we start on the apex line. See how it misses low. So actually we have to go a little bit further left. The aim point is not the apex. The aim point is further left of the apex. That's going to get that ball coming around. And that aim point is more like there. So let's see what happens when we hit the ball toward that tee if the ball moves in correctly. So now you make a putt. But if you go at the apex, you finish low. If you go to your aiming point, the starting line, which is always wider than the apex, it comes around the apex, bam. Okay, maybe the apex is not actually the tee, maybe it's more like there. The point stands. We are a foot out, meaning we're going to miss that by a foot or more, because as it misses on the low side, it goes further right. So you need to practice hitting toward the aiming spot, the starting line, and not the apex. If you can start adding some more break to your putts, you're going to leave them on the high side, give yourself more chance, especially when you go outside of 15-20 feet. Normally we miss them low because of the apex read, and then it leaves you further from the cup. When you go higher, you leave yourself shorter putts. Easy game. I have 2 more practices for you to really take your game to the next level. You don't have to be at the golf course for this. Number 1 is to learn to visualize. Understand if you can visualize, if you cannot visualize. If you cannot, you have to find another solution. But 97% of people can create a picture in their mind. That's probably you. Imagine yourself as a third person, as a video game creator, watching yourself hit great shots, watching yourself make putts, seeing that ball roll into the middle of the cup. Run through your next round, your perfect round. Run through it. See yourself hitting the shot you want to hit, hitting the shape of the shot you want to hit. Imagine it happening as if it's a video game with a shot tracer, everything, so that you can take that with you to the course, because your brain doesn't know the damn difference between when you're actually doing it or when you're imagining doing it. Everything is interconnected in golf. The mental game becomes the physical game. If you believe more in yourself, if you see the shots, your brain will see the shots and create the shots. I'm not kidding. Visualize every day. Just spend an hour daydreaming about the great shots that you're going to hit. The second thing, don't sweat the small stuff. If you sweat the small stuff in real life, you're going to sweat the small stuff on the golf course. If you have a process, you get out of the small stuff. You get into a process of the big stuff. Control things you can control. Don't major in minor things. That's why I'm talking about process. That's why I'm talking about learning your dispersion. That's why I'm talking about the knock-on effect of your dispersion leading to certain chip shots that you need to practice, which then leads to putts, 6 foot, 12 foot, that you need to practice learning to hit to your aiming spot with a process, finding out if you lined up correctly in the first place. Everything leads into each other in golf, the mental into the physical. This is how you're going to do it, your 5 practice moves. 3, hitting balls. 2, mental. Come on, boys. Do it, players. Okay, do you know what? Give me a driver. Give me a damn drive.